this video, I'll show you how to generate a PDF using HTML and CSS with API template and Postman. API template supports HTML and URL to PDF, also template-based PDF generation. In this tutorial, we'll focus on template-based PDF generation. We'll start with a preset invoice template, customize the data, make a few template updates, also learn some Jinja 2 basics for dynamic PDFs, and then send an API request from Postman to generate the PDF. If you know a bit of HTML and CSS, this is a flexible way to build PDF documents. Let's get started. We're starting here on the Manage Templates page in API Template. Now let's click on New PDF Template. I'll name the template My Invoice. Then choose Create PDF with HTML. Then we'll select a preset invoice template as our starting point. Once that's set, we can go ahead and create the template. Once the template is created, click the Edit button. This will open the template editor. On the left side, we have the Editor tabs, and on the right side, we can see the invoice preview. First, let's go to the JSON tab. This is where we define the sample data for the template. We can update fields, and the sample JSON helps us preview the invoice with real data before we generate the final PDF. We're going to add a new field called Due Date, and later we'll use this field in the template. Next, let's switch to the Template tab. This is the HTML template used to build the invoice. Right now, the invoice already shows fields like invoice number and date. Let's add one more field for the due date. So here, we'll add a due date variable. This is a Jinja variable, which means the value will come from the JSON data. You can learn more about Jinja in the description below. So now let's go to the CSS tab. We're going to adjust the CSS to accommodate the new due date field. After that, click on the Quick Preview button to preview the new due date. Now, let's add a new field called Payment Status in the JSON tab. We'll use this variable to display text conditionally in the template. Next, go to the Template tab and add a new status block. Then, we'll use an if statement. If payment status is set to paid, the invoice will display paid. Otherwise, it will display unpaid. This is a simple but practical example of how Jinja 2 conditionals work inside a PDF template. After that, we'll adjust the CSS to make room for the new field. Now we can preview the changes. So far, we've added a variable and used the Jinja 2 condition to display text dynamically. Next, let's take a look at the invoice items array. This part uses a Jinja 2 for loop. What it does is go through each item in the items array from our JSON data and automatically create one row in the table for each item. That means we do not have to hardcode every row manually. We can just send an array of items, and the template will handle the rest for us. Now that everything looks good, let's click Generate PDF. API template will take the HTML template, merge in the JSON data, apply the Jinja 2 logic, and generate the final PDF. In the generated PDF, you'll notice there's a header and footer. You can configure both of these in the Settings tab of the template editor. If you want to connect API template to other tools, just head over to the Integrations tab. We have tutorials for no-code integrations, along with code snippets for different programming languages. Next, we'll jump into Postman and make a REST API call to complete the integration. Now let's switch over to Postman. I'll start a new request and set the method to post. Now we need to configure the REST API endpoint. You can copy that from our API reference. Then I'll paste in the API template endpoint. Next, we need to tell API template which template to use. For that, I'll add the template ID as a query parameter. You can get the template ID from your dashboard in API template. Then I'll paste it into Postman. Next, we need to authenticate the request. So under the Headers tab, I'll add a header called XAPI-key. Then I'll paste in my API key from API template. This allows Postman to connect securely to the API. After that, I'll go to the Body tab. I'll set the body type to raw and make sure the format is JSON. Now I'll go back to the template editor in API template. On the left, we have the sample JSON data. I'll copy the sample JSON data from the template editor. Then I'll paste it into Postman. We can also make a few quick changes to the sample data. This JSON is the data that API template will use to fill the PDF template. At this point, the request is almost ready. Once the JSON looks good, I'll click Send. The request is successful, and we get a 200 OK response. In the response, API template returns a download URL for the generated PDF. Now we'll open that URL. And here's the generated PDF. You can see the document has been created successfully using the data we sent from Postman. And that's it. That's how you can generate a PDF with Postman and API template using a simple API request. You can use the same workflow for invoices, certificates, reports, contracts, and many other documents. Just connect your template, send dynamic JSON data, and API template will generate the PDF for you. If you want to try it yourself, sign up for API template and start building your own PDF automation workflows. Thanks for watching.